What's up, guys? It's John at National Sports Entertainment, and I wanted to go into metrics for a minute. A game that's really sticking out for me for tomorrow, and because for a while, last year especially for the NBA, we would basically run through the entire schedule. And again, I can still do that. If I'm being honest, most of as you guys know, my main objective is for people to beat Vegas at good of a rate as possible. So I'm not just gonna play all these Nets, Magic, Raptors, Pistons type games. All the Pistons did seem like a pretty obvious one. I stayed away from that one. Uh, I wasn't sure if they'd cover, but I, the Hornets, Grizzlies. There's a lot of these games. Cavs, Pels. They could really just go either way. I try and look for the ones that look suspicious. So, for example, tonight we got the Mavs. I put this on my Patreon yesterday. And that's what I was going to go into. Basically, every day, well, not basically, every single day since I've launched it on December 4th, I post our nightly recap and all of our picks for tomorrow on there. So I'll be killing two birds with one stone. I'll be going into that, how we did today. But I just wanted to go into this because it jumped out to me. This Suns Celtic game, it's very interesting. It's one I love for tomorrow. I'm going to go into it in 1 second. It really fits, in my opinion, the trap category where the line just doesn't make sense. And it's not always the case, but you'll see. Again, I put these all. This you can watch any one of these on the Patreon. I put them on there every single night for a reason, and I can't really post on YouTube every single day. I can, but getting separate videos out can be a little time consuming. And for the NBA playoffs, I'm kind of waiting. I did again. I not too long ago an NBA ranking video where not ranking, but basically who I like to go to the finals. I'm going to be doing Bronny James and all that. And I'll still put out picks. I still try and sometimes when I do a video on here, get it on YouTube as well. And sometimes just run through the whole schedule. But I really just I try and snipe lines, if I'm being honest. Cincinnati, Kansas made no sense. And who knows, Kansas could come back. But it just made no sense, in my opinion, for Cincinnati, Kansas here to be Cincinnati 3-point favorites. Kansas is higher ranked, better record, better players. So I just don't understand this Vegas line, but looks to be going good so far. And then for the NBA, like I said, I'm gonna go into the Suns in 1 second. I wanted to show something about the spreads. I'm gonna go into that in 1 minute because that's literally, well, not literally, but it is about 80% of my picks come from looking at spreads. So anyway, for the everyone that follows and tails on here, let me just run how we're doing this week. As you know, we're going for 10 weeks out of the last 11 to be profitable ones. Right now, 9 of the last 10 have been profitable ones, with the only down week being minus 4.4 units. So definitely not bad. If in 3 months, essentially, our worst week has been minus 4 units, 4.5 units. And coming into today, I think we're plus 6.35 units because we were plus 8. And then yesterday we had minus 2.8 with the Kings in play. And the Kings or the Kings Bucks. And the Kings came through at plus 115. So I think, and I could be off by a tiny bit here, but I believe we finished yesterday minus 1.65. So minus 1.65 off of 8 obviously leaves plus 6.35. So I'm pretty sure we're at plus 6.35. I might be off by like a decimal, but I think it's plus 6.35 going into today. And last I checked, Dallas and Cincy looked safe, but I'm not going to count them just yet, just because, again, you never know. So let me just run through today's games, do our recap, and then I wanted to go into the spreads because it's pretty interesting. So we got the USC cover. A little fun story about this one. I was on Twitter and I saw so many of these handicappers saying, oh, take the over, it's free, you'll thank me later, all these different things. Not all superheroes wear capes, take the over. And I responded to a few of them saying, yeah, I think you're going to get clipped. And I didn't play this myself, as you can see, when I posted this yesterday on here. I liked the cover, which we got, just because I feel like they're going to push this team. They keep saying how they're a top 25 team. I think they're going to make them look all right going into the next year. Also, the spread made no sense to me. Yes, they beat them already, but I just don't see why they'd be 3.5 point favorites when you look at the collective of how they've played. So anyway, people were saying it was going to go over and they were so confident. I just said, yeah, I feel like you're going to get clipped. And I said why. I said because it's scripted and the Duquesne over is a much better play. And of course, a lot of people had some laughs at my expense, told me to get my aluminum foil hat on. I don't think they're laughing too much now. It's when you can predict clips, and this isn't me. This is, I'm sure, a lot of people looked at matchups like that, and the first thing you guys think is there's a good chance it's going to be a clip or just a ridiculous game. So anyway, sure enough, this was like a 153.5 opening that moved to 155.5, and I'm pretty sure the finish was at like 154, 155. So there was definitely a decent amount of people clipped on this game, and like I said, we didn't even play the over, but it just they kind of jump off the page at you, and that's why I started off going into the Suns, because the Suns kind of jumps off the page at me. It's nothing egregious, but I'm going to go into why I just think it's a little bit trappish. So anyway, we got the cover, so up 1 unit. I'm not going to count Cincy yet. We should get that, but I'm not going to count that yet. Xavier is 2 units, so that's nice. We got Duquesne. Again, I went into why I really like that game. So that's 2 more units, so that's 4 units. Nuggets Heat went pretty under, so we didn't get that one, obviously, so back to 3 units. Mavs, I think we're going to get it, but I'm not going to count it before it's over, just like the other one. If it was like 2 minutes left, that's one thing. But when I started this video, there was like, I don't know, 5-6 minutes left. There was like a 10 to 12 point game. So, again, anything can happen in that time. So I'm not going to count it as a win yet, but it most likely will be. Same with Cincinnati. We got Chicago. They actually won outright, so money line would have been fine. But I think the spread was just a safer play. So back to 4 units. I took Lucky Luka here and thought he might get the upset again, but he didn't. So down to 3 units. Medi covered Dimitrov, so we didn't get that back, down to 2 units. And then Zachary winning, Golf winning, and Rude winning puts us up 5.3 units on the day. Most likely going to finish up 8.3. I just can't imagine we don't get Cincinnati. We might miss the Mavs at the end. I think we're going to get them both. So I think we're looking at about 8.3 on the day. But I'm glad we went with this tennis parlay, because I went into it in my video. I said, my last video on here, if I think there's a good chance one of these people was going to blow the cover, and they did. Zachary got the cover, Golf got the cover, but Rude blew the cover, so I didn't know which one was going to blow the cover, but I figured one of them would, so we just threw them all into a parlay. I'm liking Zachary with the new coach. I think people are expecting her to melt down, and now the story is how she feels so much less stressed with this new coach, so I'm going to be watching that one pretty closely. And Coco wasn't losing on her birthday or the day after her birthday, which really only left Rude, in my opinion. So he came back from a set down, so that was nice. And yeah, like I said, 3.3 on the day, 2.3 total, because the way I do my sequences, if you know, we do a leg one. So like Diminar beat Zverev, that did not happen. That was for a unit. So then we just played Wozniacki to beat Kerber for 2 units. She won. They were both pick'ems. We profited a unit. Now that's the way I do my system. So they don't always work out, but essentially that's how I calculate them. So we picked up 2.3 on the sequence for Rude, because obviously we were getting better than even odds. So instead of just picking up a 1 unit profit on the sequence like normal, we picked up more, and 3.3 units on the day, because it's 165 for 2 units. So like I said, probably going to finish 8.3, but anything can happen. So I'm not going to say we got the Mavericks yet, or we got the the Cincinnati game. Cincinnati's at halftime, I think. But I think we're going to have a strong day. So I'm going to go into tomorrow's plays, but with that goes this Suns-Celtics game. I seem to remember them playing in Phoenix, and the Celtics being 4.5-point favorites. So I just find it kind of weird that now they're in Boston, and after winning by 10, they're 4.5-point favorites. I think Brown's day-to-day. I think KP's out, yeah. So you got some injuries, I get that. But the injuries are nonsense anyway. I think everybody can agree on that. someone's top player could be out, they'll play better. Someone's, that was injured can come back and they play like crap. So I really don't pay too much attention to the injuries. I just look at spreads that seem a little weird. I think Boston, even if they're missing a guy, with the way they pounded the Suns, I feel like they should be more than 5.5. But it is what it is. Well, 4.5 is what it's at now. So yeah, I look at this and the Suns kind of just jump right out at me, kind of like Cincinnati did, and some of these other teams. Dallas 7.5 just seemed a little heavy. Thought more people would be on Golden State. So again, it's really just metric sniping. Now I wanted to go into something because this is what I've been talking about all year. This is how I pick my games, and it might be boring, but if you look at the top here, here's the top 8, 9. Indiana is just in the top 10, the Pacers, and they're just above 50%. 2 months ago, we were taking the Pacers under just about every single game because they had we waited a little bit. They were at like 80%, and they were a good 15 something games into the season. And I said a million times, I said not only are they not going to finish even close to 80, even close to 70, they probably won't even finish in the top 5 on the over, because I've seen this happen with so many other teams. This is what we did last year. We had teams that were crazy on the over, crazy on the under, teams that were ridiculous against the spread. This goes to college too. This goes to the NFL. And then by the end of the year, the teams that were like the best, worst, wind up falling. At the beginning of the year, again, about 15 games in, Philly and Brooklyn were two of the best teams against the spread. You see now Philly's at 52%, Brooklyn's at 46%. Milwaukee started the year, I think they were 1-12 against the spread. And then they went on a cover streak. So, like, I always go by this metric. They always fall within, like, the 40 and 60 percentile. So, you have a couple outliers. They'll wind up evening out. It looks like the Hawks are probably going to cover tonight. So, yeah, this over-under with the Pacers is pretty crazy because they were far and away the leader in overs. And if someone had said, oh, yeah, they won't be in the top 10 in overs, people would have said they were nuts, as far as for people that think it's real. So you can see them just not even, again, barely over 50%. When this team, they were talking about how they were breaking basketball going over. And it's not a coincidence. They'll say, oh, teams started adjusting to them, or whatever the case is. It's just not the truth. The truth is the public started slamming the over, and they started going under conveniently. So that's the kind of stuff I look at, and it really does help out. So, actually, let me see something. Because I think I saw. Okay, so yeah, Mavericks up 13. Okay, so that's a win. Because obviously, I don't think the Warriors are getting 7 points in the next 55 seconds. So I'm pretty sure that's a win there. I mean, not to sound like a political pundit, but I think it's, late enough to call that one. Cincinnati looking great. We only need 3 points, I think, and up 13. So again, I think we're going to finish up 8.3 today, which is a good day, obviously. And it'll put us up to around 14.6 on the week. I think we'll be exactly plus 14.65 with the 8.3 and the 6.3 coming in, 6.35 coming in. Even if we don't get Cincinnati, we'll be at right around 10.3. So we'll still be up double digit units. We'll finish off the day around 5.5 units, give or take. I think 5.3. So anyway, I think we're going to finish 8.3 today because I think Cincinnati finishes it off. And from what I just saw, the Mavs are definitely going to get it. So I want to go into tomorrow's games. Like I said, we can kill a couple birds with one stone. But I like going into the metrics because it's vitally important. We're up well over 100 units this year. Well, I should say since starting this on December 4th, or since the inception of this on Patreon. And I post every single night on here. And then what I can do is, when I do my finals videos and other stuff, I'll put that on the YouTube. Lately, we've just been being buried, which is fine. They'll probably start accidentally recommending us again in the playoffs time. But I like to, as often as I can, get all of our picks on YouTube. I know a lot of people want every single game. But the truth is, if you really want to profit, it's just much better to pick our spots versus just playing every game on the schedule. when in my opinion so many of them are so close. Tonight I almost played the Lakers. I stayed away from it because even though the Kings just won decisively, the Lakers are a weird team, so I just stayed away from that one. So we didn't play that. But tennis came through big. We've been doing really good with tennis. This parlay obviously helped us. And yeah, like I said, as long as Cincinnati holds, we're looking up about 14.65 units this week. And it'll be 10 out of 11 straight, because right now we're 9 out of 10 weeks in the profit, like I said. So hopefully we can push that to 10 out of 11 weeks. I think we will. So for tomorrow, let me run through them. We got St. Joseph beating Richmond. It's basically a pick 'em. Richmond's really good against the spread. It's as simple as that. I think more people will be on them. So that's going to be for 2 units. We had no leg 2 losses, unless Cincinnati finds a way to lose. So that's great because that means no leg 3s that we have to play. That's the whole deal of the system. 1 unit, 2 units, 4 units. And we want to close it out by 4 units. We don't keep chasing it. So if we can close out our leg 2s, and it's looking like today for our 2 unit plays, we're going to go 3-0. That's always a very good thing. So anyway, a couple 1 unit losses today. So we got some leg 2s for tomorrow. We got St. Joseph's winning. I got FSU as a leg 1. I think there's going to be at least one of these type upsets. I was even eyeing, I think Xavier is playing UConn, and I was eyeing that one. I said, you know what, I could see that because UConn won the whole thing. I could see an early elimination, but I stayed away from it. So anyway, I got FSU beating UNC. I think that could happen. So I got that for 1 unit. Plus 450, I think that's worth taking the risk. I got Michigan State cover Minnesota minus 6.5. Again, if you follow my videos on here, the ones I drop every night, then you know we've been fading Minnesota pretty hard. Again, they were 88% against the spread, and now I think they're 80%. So I just said there's no way they're going to finish in the 90s. They're probably going to finish in the high 70s. So I'm going to stand by that. I think Michigan State's going to cover them. These teams will look unstoppable against the spread, and then they'll lose like 5 in a row. I've noticed that trend as well. So I think a lot of the money will be on Minnesota. Love Michigan State to cover for 2 units. Ohio State, Iowa State, neither team known, or I'm sorry, Ohio State, Iowa, neither team really known for going crazy on the over. So kind of again, this is getting the same over-under as USC Washington. It makes no sense in my opinion. Again, USC Washington, they finished at 154, so they got clipped. And it might have been 155, but it's basically the same. They have it in the exact same range, and these two teams do not play at the same pace as Washington and USC. So it makes no sense to me. So I like the over. Public should be all over the under. As I alluded to, I like the Suns for the cover here. It's a TNT game, so I think it's going to be close if nothing else. So I got the Suns cover for 2 units, 4.5. Knicks Blazers, I like the over. 211.5 is kind of low, but both teams suck on the over. The Knicks they just showed how they had the lowest scoring game in years against the Sixers. Then they had another one that was like 170s. So I feel like people are looking at the Knicks right now thinking 211, oh, it's going under. So just trying to fade the public there. So I like the over for 1 unit. Not to mention both teams suck on the over, so also play in my metrics. Rockets Wizards, I just think the Rockets need to stay relatively in the hunt. And so I think they're going to win, and I think they'll win decisively. So I got them covering for a unit. And now we're on to tennis. I got Zverev covering Alcaraz 3.5 games. I think way more people are going to assume Alcaraz, can win 6-4, 6-4, cover it easily. He'll probably blow the first set or something weird, and maybe a 6-4, 7-6 deal where we get the clip. So I like Zverev to cover the 3.5 games. I do like Sinner to cover 6, and this is an alternate spread. So he's actually a 5-point favorite, so it's a 5-game favorite. So if you want even odds, you'd take Sinner minus 5. But I think, as I've noticed with tennis, if they're going to win by their standard line, the even value, a lot of times they'll win by at least the 1 more. So I could see him blowing this guy out. They've had Sinner looking unstoppable. So I feel like one of these guys will cover between Alcaraz and Sinner. And I think it's going to be Sinner. So I'm just going with the alternate odd for better, plus 180. I'll go for that. So he's got to win by 6 instead of 5, but I like that. I did the same thing with Wozniacki. I think they want to push her with this comeback, the fact she had a child or whatever. Now she's back. I don't think she's winning, but I think she makes it a 3-setter or something. So I love the 5.5 games for plus 160. She's getting 6.5. So again, I went with the alternate spread there. And then I'm throwing these two in there because they start tomorrow. I know, just two really big brained takes here, picking the two best guys on the planet to win. But I do think if there's a tournament for these guys to win, it would be this one. Scheffler just won, as we know, the Arnold Palmer. And they love pushing these back-to-back deals. They did it with Hovland a couple times last year. They did it with Lucas Glover. They did it with Scotty. And Scotty's kind of sucked, to be honest, ever since he's had all those top five finishes, up until, obviously, the Arnold Palmer. And Scotty won this very championship last year. So I really think, especially at plus 600, I just don't see people slamming that. I think that's why they give him such ridiculous odds, because they know the public's not going to take it. Why would you take that when you can take someone else who you've had a bunch of different winners, whether it's Schofel, whether it's smaller name guys, and they're getting like plus 4,000. So not Schofel, but some of these other guys are, like Max Homa and all those guys. So again, you might say Scotty's obvious, but I don't care. I think between last year, between the odds, there's a good chance at the very least, he's going to make a run. So I like a unit on him. Of course, this won't end until Sunday. And I got a unit on Rory at 1,600 because he didn't make the cut last year at the Players' Championship. So that's a great tale of the years, right? And I don't think he's won a tournament recently at all. So I think it might be high time he gets one. So I'm going to put a unit on each of them. Hopefully one of them will win. Or put themselves in a position where we can hedge on day 3, day 4. So we'll see what happens there. So yeah, those are all of our plays. Again, we got 4 sports going on: NBA, college, tennis, and golf. And like I had gone into, I really like to go into the best I can with the golf. I don't play it too often, but if I see a tournament that looks pretty lucrative, I like to play it. So I think there's a really good chance one of these guys wins. So yeah, we're looking good. No leg threes tomorrow because, again, we don't have any open, unless Cincinnati melts down, which in which case we can always plug in a leg 3 the next day. It's no giant deal. I like to pick my spots anyway. But just a couple leg 2s for 2 units. Again, at the worst, we're going to be 2-1 on our leg 2s today. And if Cincinnati comes through, we'll be 3-0 on leg 2s. And the rest were only for 1 unit. So, strong day. Got some plus odds. And obviously, if we get like FSU tomorrow, that would be great. Suns, these leg 2s would be nice. But I think we're going to have a strong day. And it looks like no matter what, we're going to go into tomorrow up double-digit units, which is nice. And yeah, I think we're going to push it to 10 weeks out of 11 in the profit. And you can see I'm not picking the most fun games. Some of these might be fun, but I really just try and sift and find the most egregious lines, the most trappish looking games, fading teams that are great against the spread and taking teams that suck against the spread. So just wanted to go into that for the people that every day I'll kind of get 1 or 2 people that are either new to the Patreon, new to the YouTube, been watching but a little confused about a thing or two. So I just try and explain to the best of my ability why I make the plays I do. I picked Manhattan a couple days ago. They were like a heavy underdog, and someone's like, why the hell did you take them? It's such a weird game. And I'm like, well, it looked like a trap. And even if nobody's watching Iona Manhattan, they wound up playing again after that. I don't know what happened in that game, but we got them in the first game. But I don't think, even if it's more fun to watch, a two top teams going at it, I just try and look for games that look like traps. This Ohio State 154.5, kind of weird when USC Washington just got that same line. So hopefully that answers a lot of people's questions about like kind of how I go about picking my games. But yeah, not a ton of games tomorrow, but hopefully we have a good day. And like I said, it looks like no matter what, we'll be going into tomorrow in the plus. On the bottom end, we'll be up like 5.3 units. And if Cincinnati holds, we'll finish up 8.3 units on the day. And again, anywhere between 10 and 14 units in the positive on the week. And that's been the pattern. Not to sound cocky, but we really have not had a down week. The only down week in the last 3 months, again, has been the minus 4.4 units, which really not bad at all. And I think it's because with this system, we're really able to mitigate our losses and extract optimum value from our wins. We've been doing tremendous with tennis. Golf, we only played 1 tournament. We put like 2 units on it. I had 2 different guys. So no different than this one. Maybe we get it back here. And yeah, basketball's been good too. So I think a lot of these are going to come through tomorrow. A good hit rate today. And again, the best part is we hit the games we needed to hit. You know, the Duquesne game was important because it was 2 units. The Zachary parlay because it was 2 units for plus 165. And again, hopefully we get Cincinnati. That'll be a nice 3-0 hat trick on all of our plays that weren't just for 1 unit. So yeah, I wanted to go into a few different things. I wanted to go into the Suns and Celtics. Thought it was suspicious, and just go into why I sift out certain lines. So I'll be doing some videos going into the playoffs. I just did one if you haven't seen it, and I'll be doing some videos specific to certain teams. Bronny James has been coming up a lot, so I want to cover him. And I think we're going to finish the season off strong. We had a great NBA playoffs last year, great NFL playoffs this year. So I don't think it's going to be too different. I think we're going to have a good playoffs again. I think a lot of the matchups, we kind of see them happening. I've said a million times, we're going to see the Warriors and Lakers play in the play-in. I think it just makes perfect sense. So in advance, when we can see these type of deals, I feel like it definitely helps as far as knowing what's going to happen next. So yeah, as I always say, take care and happy earnings.